Both teams walking out onto the arena here at Wanderers Football Park. Good afternoon from NPL Men's New South Wales. It's time for the third game of round 19. The World Cup is on and the NPL is running concurrently, and we'll see if that inspires today's two teams. It's the Western Sydney Wanderers Academy taking on St George City in what is a 3 p.m. local kickoff here in the west of Sydney. Wanderers in their home kit, red and black stripes, and also black shorts, while St George City, as the away team, are in all white this afternoon. These two teams met back in round 4. It was a 1-0 win to St George City in that particular game. And Jon Pedersen, who is starting, and fresh off scoring last weekend as well, is leading the line here for St George City. So happy memories for him, and happy memories for St George, who are looking to push up the table away from the relegation battle. They're not quite in it at the moment. They've got their heads above it. They can push even further away with a good result today. They're on 20 points in 13th on the table. Western Sydney Wanderers start the day in 8th on 24 points. Of course, the looming cliff of their scholarship players having to take mandatory time off, and also potentially upheaval in light of the moves the A-League team are making could yet disrupt their NPL campaign, which so far has outdone even the most optimistic predictions to have them pushing for a spot in the top 6 beyond the midway point of the campaign. So we'll get to the lineups in just a moment. You can see handshakes going on out in the middle at present. Referee for today's match is Rory McFarlane, assistants Matthew Harris and Seb Ruskin, and the fourth official is Sophie Allam. So let's get to how the two teams line up. Wanderers have made 2 changes with Lucas Sinnott and also Julian Chop coming in, and the lineup is as follows. Sinnott in goal in the number 12 shirt, Ricky Franson number 4, 5 Jesse Cameron, 6 Oscar Morrison, 7 Alat Abdul Rahman, 8 Julian Chop, 13 Noah Ovens, 17 Joshua Chetnich, 20 Harper Isles, 26 Bradley Marzal, and 27 is Lachlan Satut. Kickoff might beat us to the St George City lineup here. The referee just having one more survey of the scene here. It's a warm afternoon at the Wanderers Football Park, almost ideal conditions. Barely a breath of wind, and even though there is a bit of cloud cover, no threat of rain for our 3 p.m. kickoff here. And it's Wanderers to get us started attacking the left of your screens in this first half. Real football homegrown during the World Cup in NPL Men's New South Wales. And Julian Kopp with a early header on the ball. It's going to run out for a throw. That gives us a chance to go through the lineup for St George City. Goalkeeper number 1, Jack Kenny. 2, Matthew Wabi. 3, Ben Berry. 5, Lewis Michio. 10, Paolo Mitri. 16, Jon Pedersen. 19, Roman Colina. 20, Tep Tep. 23, Hiroto Demoto. 25, Brody Clarkson. And 33 is Lewis Curry, as we see an early foul paid here. On the bench for Wanderers today, backup goalkeeper in the number 35 shirt is Lachlan Allen. 10, Johnny Pavlovich. 16, Tristan Arate. 25, Marko Radovancevic. 28 is Giorgio Hasarati. 31, Emil Katrib. And 38, Marcus Savic. And for St George City, their backup keeper in the number 13 shirt is Franklin Yarn. 8, Stefano Rosello. 11, Jesse Foti. 27, Matt Jackson. 30, Ahmed Taleb. 42, Harry MacArthur. And 44 is Hugo McAteer. So one big out of note is that there's no Solomon John Monaghan-Viker today for St George City. Such a versatile player and consistent performer. So he'll be missed this afternoon from the visiting team as we see Wanderers consolidating possession with Ricky Franson on the ball. Now a touch taken by Noah Ovens over to the right side of defence, and Wanderers very much just settling into the game, 90 seconds in. And this is Oscar Morrison playing the ball into midfield as Wanderers try to progress through the right side. Satut with a nice touch out to the touchline, and Brad Marsal not able to keep it in. He's a little bit surprised at that call. And so St George City go back all the way to their goalkeeper. A touch here for Jack Kenny. Pops it out to left back. Bit of an awkward contest challenging for the ball. Roman Chalina playing it back to his goalkeeper. Now the head from Chop. Abdul Ruckman around the corner, asking the referee about a foul, but no interest from the referee, and the ball runs out for a goal kick. So the game yet to really get up to speed at the moment, as both teams stare each other down for the first 2.5 minutes. Ball finds its way out for another throw-in. Bit start-stop at present. St George City off the head of Jon Pedersen. And the ball finds its way out. It won't be a corner, it's a goal kick. So Pedersen, the highest league goal scorer with just 3 this season, but a couple of them have come in recent weeks. He scored in round 15 against Apia, and then last week in the 1-1 draw against Sydney Olympic. So maybe he is starting to kick-start his season. Wanderers, by contrast, they're without their high-flying top scorer in Awan Lawal today. It was always expected he wouldn't be playing the entire NPL season, given his A-League prospects and his outstanding NPL form. He had a share of the Golden Boot coming into the weekend on 13 with Damien Sekenis of Marconi, and with Sekenis drawing a blank last night, and no Lawal on the team sheet today. It means that the Golden Boot is there to be won for the chasing pack, who are all 5 behind our joint leaders. Quite a bit of a gap they've managed to put on the competition. Jesse Cameron plays it to the centre-backs, who, again, work amongst each other. Morrison asking for the short pass, but Franson looking further afield. Chop plays the ball to Abdul Ruckman. Now back to Morrison. And a late challenge there from Tep Tep. Referee's given advantage. The ball runs down to the corner. Tep Tep just getting a telling off here rather than the first booking within the opening minutes. But he did fly in late as he came through Jesse Cameron there in midfield. And so an opportunity deep in attack here for Western Sydney, headed away. And now an ambitious volley, which is sent over the interior fence here on the main show pitch at Wanderers Football Park. So that will take some retrieving. But it was bombs away there from Bradley Marzal, and never really a threat to the goal. Spare ball has been retrieved. And a short pass out to right back. Tep with a long ball. Pedersen won the ball ahead of Franson. He did very nicely. Curry through midfield. Lewis Curry trying to shovel the ball on. The offside flag is up, and that brings the attack to a standstill. It was Demoto who was trapped offside there. Promising build-up. Short-circuited there for St George City. Now Wanderers at the edge of their own penalty area. Franson to the base of midfield. Chetnich plays it back to Morrison. And now Chetnich can turn. 1-2 with Julian Chop, but now the first time ball is giving away possession from Jesse Cameron. Paolo Mitri on the ball on the wing. And he tried to hurdle a slide challenge, but it was good backtracking there from Chetnich to win the ball. And so the ball back in a familiar position at the centre of Wanderers' defence. That's been the pattern of the game so far. Not the most aggressive press, if any, from St George City, at least in the early exchanges. Happy to wait at the halfway line, but that is an incisive pass. It's found a gap. And now Satut can run to the edge of the box. The first-time shot is a curl-up and requires a save. Julian Chop shooting first time. And from that distance, there was no chance of catching Jack Kenny unsighted, and he was able to dive to his left and collect the ball. But the first shot on target coming for the Wanderers, and now Kenny's got a hustle here. He was being chased by Abdul Rahman and nearly caught in possession inside his own 6-yard box. Franson. Block tackle skies the ball in midfield. Through comes Mitri. Pedersen sends it out to the left. Satut. Now Jesse Cameron. And a ball down the right that was looking for Marzal is headed away by Roman Cholina. Morrison. Franson, you can see St George City sitting even deeper at the moment. And the header through the penalty area is not going to cause too much alarm. But it was interesting there how much further the Wanderers' defensive line were able to play and possess the ball on that phase of play, because St George City had dropped right back. Physical game in midfield. Ball ends up at the feet of Harper Riles, but he's dispossessed and has to backtrack and chases down Demoto. Now we get to see St George City on the ball. They haven't spent too much time in possession in the first 10 minutes so far. You can see there's a bit of intent from how Wanderers are pressing. Tepp is hurried by Abdul Rahman. Goes back to his keeper. Kenny switching flanks out to the left. Promising first-time touch. Moves the ball on to Hiroto Demoto. And now Curry goes to ground in midfield in the challenge of Morrison. Didn't keep the ball. And so away comes Julian Chop, trying to find a gap for Abdul Rahman. And the ball is cleared away. Pedersen contesting at centre forward. It's a looping bounce. And it eventually sits up for him. Mitri wanted to see his right back getting forward. And indeed, through comes Matthew Wabi. Swings it to the edge of the box. Pedersen on the turn. And a first shot on target for St George City. And so better there from the visiting side, as they were able to find a way to the edge of the penalty box. And it was Matthew Wabi getting involved really for the first time in an attacking sense, pushing forward. That allowed them to build. Playing a flat back five when out of possession at the moment, St George City. They've got Ben Berry in between Tepp and also Roman Cholina as the three centre-backs, and then it's Lewis Michio here on the ball over at left back and Matthew Wabi at right back. So they've come with a very defensive setup to Wanderers Football Park, no doubt respecting So we see a foul here. Corey's drawn the ire of the bench, and he's going to be the first player booked. A yellow card for the tackle on Lachlan Satut in just the 13th minute. You had the cries of protest from the Wanderers bench, who were in close proximity to where the foul took place. And so Corey is going to have to be on his best behaviour with a lot of the game to go, picking up the opening yellow card. Morrison down the left. Julian Chop running onto it and not able to find a touch to draw a corner. Franson's headed out. And possession consolidated at the centre of defence with Noah Ovens. And now the back five presses up for St George City, so almost to the halfway line, sitting a lot higher as the goalkeeper Lucas Sinnott tries to beat them with a long ball. Through comes Wabi in the air, and he was tunnelled by Abdul Rahman running in underneath him, so free kick given. And Chulina sends it out to Michio at left back for St George City. Chulina receives the pass coming from Ben Berry, and it's nearly given away, but possession consolidated. Brody Clarkson. Berry working with Clarkson. Over to the right, Wabi. He's going to go for a run here, Matthew Wabi, and lifts across over the head of Jon Pedersen. And cleared from the centre of defence. Wanderers trying to pass their way out, find a gap, and they do so with Chetnich. Over to the right side of midfield. And that's where Marzal and Satut are working together. Marzal was decked after he played the pass. Morrison sweeping ball over to the left, and then a misdirected header, giving possession away from Jesse Cameron as it rolls out rather than towards a teammate. So 15 minutes, we've had shots on target for both teams. Feels like we've built into the game at this point. Neither is on top, though. Significant contrast in scoring this season. Wanderers 36 goals hitting the back of the net so far this season, while St George City have scored just 16. So a huge contrast, and even though Awan Lawal is not out there, even without his 13 goals, Wanderers have scored 7 more than St George City over the course of this campaign to date. Here's Cameron. Blocked away by Wabi. Pass out to the right has been intercepted. Demoto, as the ball tumbles through the middle. Chop backtracking. Out to Satut. And he has to retreat and consolidate with his central defenders. Ovens plays it over to Franson. Morrison. Down the left sideline. Quick throw in. Franson, another incisive pass. Satut rolling it on. And at the centre of defence, eventually scrambled away by Chulina. Set up kindly for Harper Riles, but he just couldn't take possession of the ball. after a series of deflections. And now Demoto battling. Back to Clarkson. And Brody Clarkson working with Michio. And Curry crashing through in midfield but not able to impact the ball. And Wanderers will advance instead. Out to the right goes Chetinic. And now the referee is going to blow play to a stop. And I think he was thinking about advantage for Wanderers, but instead it's going to be a dead ball opportunity. Mid-range free kick. St George City definitely have the height advantage between the two teams, but they're not totally bereft of targets to aim for here, the Wanderers. So here comes the set piece. Satut straight onto the head of Michio. Headed away, and Wanderers consolidate the ball. Cameron. Morrison working through a central left channel. Franson to the edge of the box. And then not able to find a gap was Chetinic, and Demoto able to win the ball away. And now a foul on Palomitri allows St George City to relieve the pressure. Here is Chulina. Michio against the left sideline. St George City passing the ball right back to the middle of the defence, and Ben Berry. Tep. Wabi. Back to Berry. And Chulina with a long ball that's going to clear all of his attackers and easily consolidated. Lucas Sennett, just the one save so far, hasn't had a great deal to do through 20 minutes otherwise. And again, he'll come roaming out of his penalty area. Nice little sidestep from Noah Ovens. And he's going to drive it through the right channel, but asking a lot of his winger to come in off the touchline there, and it was easy pickings in the end for Jack Kenny. Bradley Marsal was running from a long way back there. Kenny perhaps puts the ball back at his feet in the nick of time before the referee thinks about blowing him up for 8 seconds. Here's Chulina. Over the head of Pedersen. Wanderers almost taking a timeout with the ball here. Ricky Franson is just going to stand and watch his teammate do up his shoelace here in Ovens, and now the game springs back to life. I think Pedersen was thinking about trying to sprint in and take the ball, but Franson wise to any danger. The ball is cleared down the sideline. Mitri almost passed it to himself. In very close quarters against the sideline, he's able to win a throw-in. Well, another lengthy break here as St George City sort out their plans from a throw-in. They're going to go backwards. Berry. And now Tep. Wanderers press being led by Abdul Rahman, but Berry comfortable enough. Tep, however, getting attention. And Wabi now trapped in a 1-on-2. And the numbers win the ball away for Western Sydney. Cameron to Abdul Rahman. Chetinic into the middle. And the build-up continues as Riles distributes out to the right, and Marsal resists the opportunity to swinging an early cross, and Wanderers consolidate again. Chetinic to Franson. And the pass we've seen a few times from Wanderers, the attempted incisive pass that takes out both the forwards and midfield of St George City that time. They were awake to what was coming and closed in to win the ball away, but can they use it themselves here? Pedersen playing as a target man. You can see his shirt being almost lifted off him, but no foul forthcoming. And the ball is broken square, and now a belated whistle. And I think Jon Pedersen was being undressed, and not by his choice there during that wrestle. You could see his shirt almost starting to slip up over his head as it was grabbed and grappled, and indeed a free kick is the decision. Here's Ben Berry. So St George City not playing at breakneck speed on the ball, but just trying to consolidate. Long ball here. Pedersen tries to sneak over the back after it cleared the head of Noah Ovens, but Sinnott has been proactive coming out of his line so far and is able to make another comfortable collect. Good first touch from Satut, trying to turn out of his defensive half into attack. He's being trailed by Lewis Curry. Got news of a goal elsewhere. St George FC have taken the lead away at UNSW. So the toughest away trip in the competition. They've made a perfect start. Here's Wanderers looking for a goal of their own. Cameron, and the follow-up is battered away. Good save. Abdul Rahman denied. A double save from Jack Kenny. And now shouts for a penalty waved away. Wanderers stay on the attack. Oscar Morrison popping it over towards Jesse Cameron. He's got to chase it towards the line. He does keep the ball in. No, he doesn't. So Jack Kenny, an important double save there. I'll let Abdul Rahman following in at close range. And good reflexes from the goalkeeper to get his arms up and parry away the close range shot and keep the score at 0-0. In spite of finding the back of the net 36 times this season in 18 games, the Western Sydney Wanderers, amazingly, they have failed to score on 5 occasions this season, including last week in their 2-0 loss to Sydney United. So it's either a flood or nothing this season. They've got a handful of 4s, a 5 and a 6 so far in this campaign. So if they are able to find a way to score, it tends to multiply quite quickly. And I think St George City would be acutely aware of that. Perhaps why they're approaching today's game with the back 5. Brought down, nicely done by Harper Riles. However, his teammates not able to join in. Marçal gives possession away. Franson lofts the ball out to the right side, and Michio will catch the ball and take his own throw in. And now Chulina looking for Ben Berry, and he's hurried by the press, and it takes an aggressive deflection. And fortunately for Jack Kenny in goal, it wasn't on target. Abdul Rahman has been leading the press with real energy through almost half an hour of action. And again, he was able to catch Ben Berry in possession there, but the ricochet was a kind one for St George City. does feel like Wanderers are firmly on top now in general play, really for the first time in the match. We have one team on top of the other. Perhaps that explains St George City's really patient managing of the clock. Every time the ball stops, they are in no hurry to get the game back underway. Kenny shows us his distance on a goal kick there, roosting it up to the edge of the attacking third. Now Riles trying to play his way out of traffic, wins the throw in. And looped away by Ben Berry. So Wanderers slowly but surely advancing all their players into the attacking half. Morrison happy to go back and reset. Franson. Morrison. And here's Julian Chop. Through the left. Jesse Cameron getting forward. He's going to turn back onto his right side. Loop it across. And a good header away by Chulina. However, loose man on the right side of the box. And it's lashed just wide. Oh, Bradley Marçal put his left foot around the ball and very nearly curved it in to the left-hand post, but across the face it goes. And Wanderers, the chances are coming with more frequency now. Discard those cheers. Those are coming from the pitch behind us. For those of you not familiar with Wanderers Football Park, we're at a complex where multiple games go at once. Here's Curry. St George City properly under the pump at the moment and looking for a way to try to stop Wanderers from finding the opening goal. You can see how high the press is at present. It's putting everyone under the pump here, and possession is turned over again. Morrison. Chetinich. Now the cross in from Cameron. Rising to the header was Riles. And the goalkeeper, Kenny, well, he's berating his defence. Not happy that Harper Riles was able to win the header and that the cross came in uncontested. And he hurls the ball out to Michio. Now Clarkson and Curry. Two players that St George desperately need to be spending more time on the ball at the moment. And the press is going to put Ben Berry under pressure once more here. Back to his goalkeeper, Kenny. Out towards Chulina. And it's out for a throw-in. You can see Riles running over to take the throw. Wanderers know they're closing in on the opening goal. It's just a matter of can they convert. And now Mitri trying to break the other way, but he's a lone hand in the attacking half. And he's running at Chetinich here, and Chetinich is able to win the ball off him. And a foul for his trouble. So that'll bring things to a stop. We've ticked over half an hour, scoreless in the game. Largely down to the goalkeeping of Jack Kenny, having kept Wanderers out so far. A bit of a fracas going on. It's Marconi against the Wanderers in a youth age group on the pitch behind us, but that's what the whistling and the shouting is all about. We'll keep an eye on things here. Far more placid in our feature match in NPL Men's New South Wales. St George City through Jon Pedersen, not leading the press with any great aggression. Now they're going to get interested because Clarkson has won the ball up high. Paolo Mitri, one-on-one against Franson. He rounds him and shoots. And it hones in on the keeper. And again, a promising sign for St George City as they were able to win the ball. Brodie Clarkson stepping up about as high as we'd seen him in midfield at any point during the game. He and Curry have been quite deep as the two screening midfielders, but they were able to effect a attacking half turnover there. And then Mitri, in the act of rounding France and maybe falling off balance, and decided to shoot as soon as he saw the chance. Clarkson getting interested in the press again, as is Curry. And it's not going to end with them winning the ball, and away come Wanderers. Satut out to the right side. Marsal had that great chance a few minutes ago, now trying to turn provider, and Cholina heads away. Pedersen loops it over his shoulder. That's going to work out for Hiroto Domoto. Can he go on a run here? Wanderers getting back in numbers, though. Domoto will look up at just a line of red and black shirts and not too many of his teammates. Now supporters arrived, but it's a crowded defensive penalty area. Here's Wabi. Back to Tep. It's almost like they flicked a switch at the half-hour mark here, St. George City. And we're starting to see them look a lot more sprightly. Clarkson. Now Cholina. Domoto trying to control a forcefully struck pass. Hiroto Domoto working with Jon Pedersen. Pedersen. And he's being followed every step of the way by Satut there, who didn't allow him to turn and face. This is a better spell from St. George City, though. Clarkson. And now Michio. Domoto is really getting a lot of touches with great frequency now. Paolo Mitri trying to volley to his own advantage. He's pickpocketed by Chop. Curry. Michio whips it across. Can't find Pedersen. Mitri at the edge of the box, off the chest. Can't control it. Tep using his height, but he can't steer the header to a teammate. In comes Clarkson, but he can't win the ball to his own team's advantage. Well, what was meandering towards seemingly an inevitable Wanderers' first goal has taken quite a swerve here. And now St. George City are showing that they are a match. It's worth remembering that they did win 1-0 when these teams met back in February in round 4. Here's a pass flicked through the left. Abdul Rahman is going to cut on from the right side, and maybe saw it a little late, did Kenny. We were right behind the trajectory of the ball, and he just moved half a step later than you might expect to get down and make the save. It was a shot on target, and he makes the save. Got his body behind the ball. Maybe the game's going to sling end to end here. Not quite. Franson stops Mitri from getting away. Here's Clarkson. Feeding the ball through the left. Lewis Michio is there. And his attempt at crossing is blocked out. And again, it's gone over the interior fence. So we're going to have a bit of a delay here as we wait for a spare ball to be sent down the left sideline. They don't have one immediately on halfway between the two benches over on the outer side. So everyone's pointing. No one's got a ball. I can see one on the near side touchline at halfway to us, but there isn't a player within 50 metres. And thankfully, we do have one spectator who's been able to return the match ball from over the fence, and we can resume with Michio's throw in here. Flicked on by Mitri. Pedersen stayed on side. Now Curry. It's all happening in close quarters here. Michio repelled. And Pedersen trying to step through. Curry. It's so busy in there, and Curry eventually contorts the body to flick his right foot at the ball and shoot. But it didn't have the power or the placement to pose any great threat. But that was such a crowd around the ball there. And St. George City weren't able to find someone to just blast their way through it. So the restart is taken by Sinnott. At halfway, the challenge in the air from Mitri. It falls at the feet of Chetinic. Now Morrison. Cameron. Good centre-back play from Ben Berry. And it's going to launch a counter-attack here. Mitri, Wabi getting forward the right back. It's going to come back inside to Clarkson. Now Curry, Mitri, and Clarkson. Pedersen calls for the cross, and that's where it was intended. But Ovens is able to volley it away. Can Wanderers break its speed here? Satut. Oh, he lost the ball. Clarkson coming back, able to win it off him. Michio to Curry. Tep. Clarkson. Michio receives the ball. And even though Demoto was trying to grab and grapple with Ovens, Ovens has safely seen the ball over the line. And it's quickly taken by Sinnott. Well, in possession there. Not sure if it was the shout from the sideline or instruction from teammates, but Wabi and also Michio were much higher up the pitch there, and it did look like a more typical back three / back five in possession rather than the flat back five that we've been observing for most of the first half from St George City. So as we wind a little bit closer to the halftime break, they are starting to grow in confidence that perhaps they can be the first team to score what has been an arm wrestle a game so far. Kenny, well, worried by the press there of Riles, took a chop step first touch to take the ball out towards the line, and then he was always battling to avoid conceding a corner. He was able to squeak it away for a throw-in instead. See, the towel has come out. It's a totally dry day, but the sprinklers were on pre-game, and Marcel for the long throw. He's going to step behind the light tower here and come running out and hurl the ball to the edge of the 6-yard box. Franson's header on, and then two Wanderers challenging each other, and then Abdul Ruckman on the instep, not able to generate the power to put the ball on target. It does end up being scrambled behind for a corner kick. So the long throw was a great option there. It caused chaos in the penalty area, and the end result is a corner for the Wanderers here. All 11 St George City players in the penalty box defending this corner kick. 5 minutes of regulation to go in the first half. Here comes the corner. Beyond the back post, Franson the target, and now nodded into the mix-up. Chetinich trying to control at the edge of the box. Curry got a half clearance on the ball, and then Morrison volleys it away from the goal his team are attacking. And that's going to go out for a St George City throw at halfway. So that's going to work out as a nice clearance for them. So the corner dealt with. Clarkson. Back to Tep. Clarkson again. And Curry. Curry wheels onto his left foot and sends it out to the flank. Michio. Demoto making a run. Michio tried to find him, but he's blocked by the defender in Marsal. It's out for a throw-in. Curry. Clarkson turning and distributing. Intercepted by Marsal. Back pass a little dangerous. Pedersen nicks in. Makes a contest. Demoto went to ground. And now Satut clears away. And Ben Berry will send it all the way back to his goalkeeper. After Ruckman pressing all the way up. Tep's got to be careful here. He's not the most press-resistant player, but he's able to turn around the corner and find a teammate in Wabi. And the ball's been coughed up by Clarkson. Edge of the box. Taking a step and leaving the ball. Curry's able to nick in and get to it before Morrison could. Riles was apprehensive to shoot just outside the area. Well, it remains a lively end to the first half. First 15 minutes of the game really did take a bit of time to get going, but now with the pressure of a deadline looming and the halftime whistle not far away, both teams are starting to really go for it here. Here's Wabi. Little sidestep, taking on Julian Chop. And he swings in across. Demoto up for the header, and it's just wide of the right-hand post. Best chance of the game so far for St George City, but Hiroto Demoto couldn't put the header on target. He might be diminutive, but he was perfectly placed to jump uncontested there. And truth be told, I was expecting it to nestle inside the post, and instead it went just across the face. Long pass finds its way to Riles. Now Marcel plays it into the middle. Chetinich had to scramble. Pedersen able to win the ball back for St George City. Long ball down the left flank. And comfortably dealt with by Ovens. Here's Michio playing the ball to Mitri. Clarkson got an intercept but couldn't keep possession. Marcel back to Morrison. Cameron. Long chain of passes here for Wanderers. Just playing keepings off more than anything. Now they venture into the attacking half. Through comes Michio with a crunching challenge. Spills it to Demoto. And Demoto, well, he glanced it off Pedersen, but that was almost an unretrievable pass. And away comes Cameron. Abdul Ruckman is wide for him on the flank. Cuts it back inside. Chetinich. In an acre of space there is Satut. He knew that Marcel would be advancing. Marcel also free on the wing. Abdul Ruckman blocked away by Tep. Full-length dive from Tep, able to block the shot away and foil Alad Abdul Ruckman from scoring in the last minute of regulation. That was a good little change of gears there from Wanderers. And the referee sees no need for stoppage time at the end of a scoreless first half. Both teams with good chances, particularly a close-range save from Jack Kenny to deny Alad Abdul Ruckman. And then right at the end of the half, Hiroto Demoto rising to an unmarked header, but putting it out across the face rather than inside the right-hand goalpost as he would have seen it. So St George City started with the back five. They did take a very defensive approach to open the game in the first 15 minutes, but they came to life after the half-hour mark, and that gave us a bit more of an end-to-end contest after the Western Sydney Wanderers had controlled most of the early proceedings. But we're without a goal, crucially, and so as we head to the half-time break, the score is Western Sydney Wanderers 0, St George City 0. We will be back in about 10 minutes. Headley has come over to the right flank to help out. Tay Headley skips around a defender, went to ground rather slowly. Not enough to convince the referee there was a foul. Lancaster, a bending ball and a header in.
An ex-Western Sydney Wanderer, Kyle Chimenti. It's Allen against Chimenti. And he slots it into the bottom corner and gives Sydney United the lead as they look. I may have said Rose, doing my best. There's no board here, so I'm having to do the count. Zanic, he's it out wide to Jennings. He's got Rule making the overlapping run. He goes to him. It's Carlos de Oliveira! Sydney United double their lead.
His last goal, in fact, in that 1-0 victory for the Raiders. Prendergast is under pressure. It's Knezovic! He does have Goal number 3 of the season. We were just speaking about it. Scoring that late equaliser in that 1-1 draw at the Village Green. As Prendergast has been caught out off his line. Oh my word, what a strike!
And he finds Kuda. Kuda back again for Kaspers. Lovely overlapping run. O'Driscoll holding up down there in the corner. Kaspers with Kuda. Oh, he's taken a heavy challenge there, Michael Kuda. Down he goes. Free kick taken quickly. Referee says play on. Gonzalez steps inside, drives it in, and he's opened the scoring. Oscar Gonzalez from the quickly taken free kick there. It's nicely. Just 1-0 for Appia Leichhardt. And here's Ortiz. Ortiz, can he get a touch inside the box? Ortiz is there. Oh, what a finish from Presley Ortiz. Absolutely fantastic.
Hollingdale's efforts up and over the wall. Fantastic effort from Riley Hollingdale. St. George can't buy a goal at the moment. This corner swung in. Rising header, and there it is! The much-needed goal for St. George. Battled Blacktown City. As here with Shueki. Not clear. Shueki finds the bottom corner.
Bring them any further towards goal. Foti. Oh, this is the moment. Pedersen! Beautifully timed ball. And Johan Pedersen. Another effort long. Clarkson is up ahead of Tap. There were no blue shirts in the picture. A second bite. And the ball is kept alive by Tap. Another net win for St. George City. It can't be long now. And a volley it through Forrest, and the big get the equaliser. Unbelievable.
Elliott finds Constable. He might try here. Flicks the ball up for McCarthy. Kept out the first time, but not the second. Right on the stroke of half-time. Mitch Malia looking to whip it in. Header from Grimaldi. Can't be denied that time, Travis Major. They kept away the initial header. Constable. McCarthy, originally deflected. Scortati's smart ball! And Cholakan buries it! And does he maybe?
Cocktails deep in form. First Ješić with a chance, and Marko Ješić puts it away. It was a delightful pass from
Who's the best school? That's always more. out. Did you miss out? No, my brother does. No, only up here. Because every day he does soccer in the morning. What is wrong with you? He likes soccer too much. So I like soccer too much. I hate school. School's the idiot. Yeah, sure. Yep, 40. Are you pig? I don't know what a pig is. You don't know what a pig is? Yeah, I know. What's here? I've already used some food. You keep packing. Let's order some more.
Joseph, Joey, go tell Louis, tell him hurry up and score a goal. Scream it out. No, Louis!
Louis! Hurry up! Hurry up, Louis, and score a goal! Louis!
Louis!
Louis, score a goal! Score a goal! No. Yeah, no. This is, I don't know if I am. I don't know. I don't know if I am or not. That's his name. It's the offering. The prayer offering. The prayer offering. It's offering. So I'll give you. This is the holy bread.
Louis!
Louis, kill him! Go! Kill him, makes mushroom. You be doing like break their legs. Our school, 35. Our school 29. 741 days.
Welcome back to Wanderers Football Park, not far away from kicking off the second half of this goalless NPL Men's New South Wales Round 19 clash between Western Sydney Wanderers and St George City, one of two 3 p.m. games on your Saturday afternoon. In the other, St George FC are 2-0 up away at University of New South Wales, who had previously been unbeaten at home this season. So we have a potentially big upset on the cards. Whereas here, we have a bit more of an arm wrestle. Both teams had their chances in the first half. First half an hour certainly tilted the way of the Wanderers, and then the final 15 minutes of the half, St George City able to build into the game and finish the half with what was a glorious opportunity for Hiroto Domoto to open the scoring, but his header went wide. Earlier in the half, Jack Kenny had made a reflex save to deny Alat Abdul Rahman at close range. Doing a quick head check, we do have a fourth official here, but I didn't see the board go up, so it looks like the same 11s that started the match are beginning the second half, with one exception here for St George City. Matt Jackson has come on at half-time in the number 27 shirt. We'll do the head count and work out who he's come on for here at the start of the second half, but it does appear as though Wanderers have got the same 11 out there for the start of the second half. Here's Paolo Mitri on the ball. Well, I reckon it's Lewis Michio who's come off at half-time. As we see the cross in from Wabi, headed away by Ovens. Curry, the only player in the first half to pick up a yellow card. He's battling away in midfield, and here is the half-time sub in Jackson, willing himself onto the ball. Square ball to the edge of the penalty area is cleared away, headed down by Riles, and the backtracking Wabi is able to get to the ball and play a quick 1-2 with Tep. But yes, that half-time substitution, Lewis Michio coming off and Matt Jackson coming on. And Michio was promising in the first half, so hopefully not an injury for him. And it remains a back three rather than necessarily a back five for St George City. At times in the first half, they were playing a flat back five, but as the half wore on, it started to turn into a back three, and the wing backs were getting a little bit more adventurous. And maybe that's also part of the thinking for making the one change that we've seen in the game so far. Nearly a costly giveaway here. Ovens scrambling to undo the giveaway of possession. Mitri mishits the volley. Can't quite wrap his right foot around it. And it runs well wide of the target. Out for a goal kick. Better from St George City in the press, though. So, if you missed the first half, the story coming into the game was free-scoring Wanderers, 36 goals in 18 games against stingy St George, just the 16 scored so far this season. But with no Awan Lawal and his league-leading 13 goals out there today, Western Sydney Wanderers haven't looked quite as prolific as they have in some of their rather romping wins so far this season. And certainly, well, caught in possession here was Jackson, and the attempted cut across from Satut. Can't find a teammate, instead turned behind for a corner. And the sun is just ducking in and out from behind a cloud. So hopefully when we look to the right of your screens here in the second half, we won't have too much lens flare to have to deal with. So, corner to be taken by Satut, who won it himself in open play. Driven corner. Up goes Tep Tep, the tallest player on the pitch, able to win a header twice. But it's going to be volleyed back and, well, into the fence behind the goal, but not without the aid of a deflection. So, Josh Chetanich able to win another corner kick. So, repeat corners. Outswinger this time. Beats all and sundry in the penalty area, though, as it whipped through the box, and Franson will consolidate. Back to Jesse Cameron. Cameron, second time ball. Chulina able to lean into a header. And now another cross teased in. Ben Berry's turn to win an aerial ball. Demoto through and winning a free kick. Of course, it is World Cup time. The Socceroos playing tomorrow. You might have heard the name Roman Chulina in the call. He is the son of former Socceroo Jason, who's here in the stands today. Great to see. Chulina, such an important part of 2006 and 2010. Hopefully enjoying the work of his son out there in the number 19 shirt so far. Jackson's header, Curry. Has to deal with Morrison. Switching flanks over to Wabi on the right. Wabi running at chop. A little stutter step, and now he lifts in across. It's high. Demoto trying to nod it back towards the 6-yard box, and off the midriff of his opponent in Marsal, it finds its way out for a St George City corner. 6 minutes into the second half. They haven't had too much by way of dead ball opportunities here, St George City. They've got a tall team today, playing a back three, and all three are up for the corner here. Tep Tep is going to go and plant himself right next to the goalkeeper, Lucas Sinnott, and he's going to immediately try to make himself a nuisance. Here comes the corner. It's going to land on top of the 6-yard box, headed away by Ovens. Chulina with a header. He tried to steer it in the direction of Tep, but easy pickings for the goalkeeper in the end. And now he's got Satut here leading the line. Out comes Kenny. And with an improvised volley, he's able to clear the ball away. Clarkson down to Pedersen. Jon Pedersen not quite able to step through, and Morrison clears away, and now Chilena heads that into the stands. Abdul Rahman. Chilena. High ball. Another battle for Jon Pedersen. Morrison volleying back towards Franson. Now Ovens. Early ball, and Abdul Rahman outpointed by Berry, who's then legged, and an easy decision for the referee. It was Riles backtracking who knocked over Ben Berry. Wabi able to skip away from Cameron on the wing. And he goes to ground, trying to convince the referee that he was infringed with, but no luck from the decision maker, and a bit of dissent from Matthew Wabi, but not enough to cause the referee to have to become a bit more strict. Rory McFarlane, today's referee. As the ball is volleyed out near the St George City bench, Mirko Yerilj, the coach. Curry. Now Jackson skips left. Able to create some separation for the cross. Franson up for a defensive header. Mitri trying to trap the ball, but cleared away off his feet by Chetinic and brought down by Abdul Rahman. Here's Chetinic over to Morrison, and he's able to work the ball out to Marsal. Misplaced pass. Wabi can give it to Mitri, who can turn and face. He's looking for Pedersen. Franson went to ground. Pedersen surrounded by defenders. Back to Wabi. And now Clarkson. Curry. Back out to Wabi. A shallow cross. Finds Mitri. Curry on an acute angle. He's steered away from goal by Franson. And now he lifts in a cross of his own. Demoto up for the header. Very much a contested one this time. And a clash of heads means that both players stay seated. And now they both get themselves back up. So thankfully not the worst case scenario there. But it was a physical contest in the air there between Marsal and Demoto. And this time Demoto may have won the header, but he couldn't get any sort of direction on it. That was neatly worked by St George City over on their right flank to create the chance on goal. Julian Chop. To Marsal. Now trying to do some attacking of his own. A rangy pass. And it was a little hurried for any of the attackers to really run onto. Cleared on the opposite side. Out onto one of the outer pitches here at the Wanderers Football Park. And similar to the first half, we don't have a spare ball anywhere nearby. So we'll have a little delay here as the hour mark approaches. We can go around the grounds. Start of the second half at the Village Green, where it's 2-0 in favour of visiting St George FC against UNSW. 5:30 kickoff, Spirit against Sydney Olympic. Also Sutherland Sharks against Blacktown City. And then 6 o'clock tonight, Wollongong Wolves against RPL Leichhardt. So a busy day with 5 matches in NPL New South Wales. And last night it was a 1-1 draw between Manly and Sydney United and a 0-0 draw between Marconi and Sydney FC. And after getting a spare ball back, it's ended up in the hands of Jack Kenny. Foul in midfield, and we're going to see just the second booking of the game. And it's Jackson who's been felled by the challenge of Lachlan Satut. So he joins Lewis Curry in the book. We'll give you what this does to the table at the next break and play. For these two teams, not much. A draw. As the ball goes over the head of Pedersen. So if we remain level, Western Sydney Wanderers would go to 25 points. It would still leave them on the outside of the top 6 looking in, with Sutherland to kick off later this evening. And above them, Wollongong and Rockdale also with a game in hand. So all it would do is push them above Sydney FC on goal difference if they were to move to 25 points. And for St George City, they'd improve to 21 with a minus 12 goal difference, with Spirit to kick off soon, also on 21 points, but 6 goals better. And if UNSW were to lose today, they aren't able to get something out of their current 2-0 deficit against St George FC, then we will have just 3 points separating 9th and 14th on the table. So Blacktown City will be looking up at that, hoping that if they can get something out of this weekend, maybe there'll be favourable results above them. Here's Curry, bustling through midfield. Wanderers tracking back. Here's Jackson. Step overs as he heads into the box. He goes to ground. Curry challenging. And in the end, the Wanderers defence able to repel. Slapping run from Demoto. And ultimately unsuccessful. So we've crossed the hour mark, and it's going to prompt a substitution for the Western Sydney Wanderers. Josh Chetinich is coming off here as the first change for the home side. And into the action comes Marko Radovancevic in the number 25 shirt. So early touch for Radovancevic in central midfield. Sinnott. Satut. Radovancevic turns out to the right. Marsal not able to get the better of Chelina. Curry bodied and winning a free kick. Kicked away by Harper Riles in disappointment. Maybe a little fortunate not to get himself booked there for punting the ball away, but it's quickly returned. Long ball, Pedersen in a tangle with Ovens. Berry, Tep. Wabi. Curry now. Turns the ball around the corner to Jackson. St. George City trying to build. Here's Demoto. Pedersen can turn and shoot and score! Goals in consecutive games for Jon Pedersen. And how important could that be for St. George City? It was patient, progressive build-up, and then Pedersen was able to use his evasiveness to receive the ball back to goal, and he had the space to turn and score. It was a good finish. Not much Sinnott could do about it, as Pedersen put it in the top right corner as he saw it. And it is now 3 goals in 5 games for Jon Pedersen, and only his 4th of the season, but they have all come in recent weeks for St. George City. And now we have the same scoreline that we had at Penshurst Park back in round 4, and the same scorer. So if there's one opponent we know that Jon Pedersen will enjoy playing against, it is the Western Sydney Wanderers. And we seem to have had concurrent goals, because we've got word that St. George FC are now 3-0 up away at UNSW. So the Village Green is about to see its first defeat of the season today. And maybe this is going to shake up the foot of the table quite a bit. I mentioned what a logjam it is. St. George City have now jumped to 9th place, purely on the back of that one goal on the live league table. So, Wanderers, they'd only just made their first change of the game. Long ball here, hoping for Riles. Away heads Berry. Curry twists the ball around to Demoto. Tried to find a gap, but he just overhit the ball. Looks like Wanderers have got a double change now, about to hit go. So they've got a couple of subs in response to falling behind here. Satut, now Marsal. Swings in across onto the head of Tep. Franson. Radovancevic. Chops pass. A little mishit. Goes high. Wabi can head away. Now battle for possession, and that's going to be met with a double change. So, whose number is up? 67th minute here. They've got a player down in midfield for St. George City. It's Curry. So he's looking a little sore. The trainer is being called. And Wanderers are going to still affect their double substitution while we have this break in play. And it looks as though it's the front two, Harper Riles and also Alad Abdul-Rahman, who are coming off here. And on to the pitch comes Johnny Pavlovich, wearing the number 10 shirt. And it looks like Giorgio Hasarati is joining him. Just wait for him to turn around and confirm for sure. Sure is. The number 28 on his back, Giorgio Hasarati, comes on. So the double change goes through. And it is Riles and Abdul-Rahman replaced by Pavlovich and Hasarati. And conveniently, that double sub coinciding with the treatment for Lewis Curry. But it's proven a game ender. He's out, and on comes the number 8, Stefano Rossello. So Curry, the only St George City player that had a yellow card to his name, has also been sacrificed here. A bit sore. Wonder if he would have played on had he not been on a booking. Perhaps just too much added up, and fresh legs have come on in the form of Rossello. And he tucks into a midfield combination, and Jesse Foti has come on as well. So a double substitution for St George City, who'd already made one change at halftime, and the man wearing the 27 shirt here chasing in Jackson is the one who'd already come on. Paolo Mitri is the other player who has made way. So double change for St George City. Foti on for Mitri, and also Rossello on for Curry. 4 new faces into the action, 2 for each team. And here's Jackson with energy getting out to the wing and preventing Marçal from getting a free run at the ball. Long throw, Marçal. It's a bit flat. We saw a great long throw in the first half. That one not able to beat the nearest defender. And Ovens will go and retrieve the ball inside his defensive half. Lights are starting to come on here. Just a bit of cloud cover around. It is only 4:30 local time, but in an hour we will be in pitch black here in the middle of winter. So the sun does set pretty early, even on beautiful warm sunny days like what we kicked off in earlier this afternoon. Franson looking for Hasarati fresh off the bench and cleared away by Ben Berry. Franson. Morrison surrounded by a quartet of St George City players, but he is able to draw a foul. Radovancevic. Little underlapping run is clever. That's nicely done by Satut into the box, and it's sat up teasingly, but Tepp was able to clear away. Demoto starting deep in his defensive half, runs into trouble. And Wanderer is able to win the ball back quickly. Into the last 20 minutes of regulation we go. St George City leading by the only goal of the game. Step over from Chop. Hasarati legged at the edge of the box. Berry won the ball away legally. Here's Wabi hugging the touchline, and he's able to rise to a sprint here. Dashing forward, playing it to Pedersen. 2 defenders to contend with, and across came Ovens to win the ball away. Chop able to control on the wing. Crosses into the middle. Jackson committing. Big ricochet. And now Radovancevic has no choice but to sky a clearance away. And the endeavours of Jackson have seen him take a seat. A little bit sore after maybe just copping a follow through there. And so the trainer is out again. Having now made 3 substitutions, St George City, will they be thinking about another one here? Because Jackson only came on himself at half-time. So very quick word with the trainer, who seemingly didn't have to actually apply a great deal of, if any, treatment. And the good news is that Matt Jackson is able to walk under his own steam over to the sidelines. Satut First time ball driven into the box. Shouts of a handball against Brodie Clarkson. Shouts from players and spectators alike go unheeded by the referee. Franson, see Jackson's back on. So it was 11 versus 10 for that one phase of play, and Demoto was filling in at left back for St George City. Another sweeping ball to the edge of the box, repelled away once more. Franson, he's going to shoot from distance here, Ricky Franson. Strong parry behind the ball by Kenny. Almost like a volleyball set. He was able to steer the direction away to safety. Out to the right it whips. Marsal. A barrage of crosses at the moment, but St George City have the answers as Chulina this time is able to clear away. Lucas Sinnott, almost a spectator for the last 5 minutes, as the Western Sydney Wanderers are firmly on the hunt for an equaliser here in St George City. They have dropped back into a back five, which we've seen plenty of in this game. And out steps one of them, Ben Berry to Clarkson. Now Pedersen, Demoto, not much going by way of a counter-attack because the numbers are sitting very much behind the ball for St George City. Chulina curving a pass around to Demoto, but he's coming back from an offside position. Well, Jackson's been booked here for kicking the ball away, delaying the restart. I think Brodie Clarkson's quite right to, I think he's pointing to the exact incident that I referred to back when the game was 0-0 earlier in the half. Anyway, it's settled by the referee, whose decision is final. And Jackson is now on a yellow card. Only player for St George City out on the pitch at the moment who's got one. And the only other one with a booking to his name at the moment is Lachlan Satut of the Wanderers. Here's Marsal. Inside to Morrison. Hasarati. Morrison. Decision time at the edge of the attacking third. He concedes ground. Radovancevic. And now Franson. Neat little touch off. Pavlovic not able to step through. Out came Berry. Good stand-up challenge to win the ball. "15 minutes of regulation remain. Radovancevic runs into a 1-on-2. The numbers prevail. St George City with a long way to go, though. Foti, his pathway blocked. Marsal having to chase his own initial pass. Franson. Morrison. Here's Satut. And now Marsal. Aggressively struck cross. Very difficult for Julian Chop to actually steer a header in. The ball really reared up at him and slid on out for a goal kick. Goal back for UNSW. It's only the 66-minute mark at the Village Green, so they've got a bit more time on their side, but they're trying to come back from 3-0 down at the moment against St George FC. Kenny. Booming long clearance, almost to the edge of the opposition penalty area. And it is just going to bounce on keeper to keeper. Double change waiting in the wings for St George City, so that will be their fourth and fifth substitutions when they are enacted. Franson up the middle. Berry stands tall, helped out by Wabi. And Franson won't let the ball go out. Diagonal ball. Jackson has to commit and got to the ball. Pops it out of play before Marcel could make a go of it. And so we're going to see the double sub here. And there's a player being limbered up for Wanderers as well. But the goal scorer is taking his leave. Jon Pedersen. He was definitely under the spotlight, having only scored one goal in the first half of the season. But he's now scored 3 in his last 5. And he's got the only goal today. So the double change goes through, and it's his fellow Japanese national Hiroto Demoto who's leaving the pitch on the near side in front of the stand as the double change goes through. Ahmed Taleb and also Hugo McAteer have come on. Taleb in the number 30 shirt and McAteer in the number 44, and he's the closest St George City player to chasing the ball here. So a fresh front two. No doubt we'll be doing plenty of defending from the front and trying to hit on the counter here. And here's the new Wanderers man, Emil Katrib. He's come on for Western Sydney. Franson. Satut. Was Bradley Marcel making way for the man in possession here, Katrib. Back to Morrison. Wanderers have upped the ball speed, but can they find penetration? Can they find the right pass to get through a set St George City defence? Not on this occasion as Chelina heads away. Miko Uril still very animated on the sideline. Every pass of the ball, but he gives a handshake to Hiroto Demoto as he has eventually made his way around the perimeter back to the St George City bench. And the defence remains in position. McAteer not able to make a run at it after his first touch. And through goes Katrib. Don't forget that Jackson is on a yellow. Katrib down to Hasarati, and the shot from Chop. It'll be followed in here by Cameron. Jesse Cameron grabs an equaliser for the Western Sydney Wanderers. And St George City's defence is breached. A lot later than perhaps the Wanderers would have been thinking at times during this match. It's taken until the 80-minute mark. But Jesse Cameron has levelled this one up. And just after St George City had perhaps made the changes that signalled that they were going to sit back and try to hold on to a 1-0 lead, they have 10 minutes in stoppage time here, where perhaps they need to find some new ideas if they want to leave with all 3 points, and they'll still have a Wanderers team that will be coming at them and trying to turn around this contest and find a winner. So how different is it going to look now due to the game state? It is just a second goal of the season for Jesse Cameron. You don't expect too many out of your left back, and it's his first goal since round 5, the 3-2 win against the Sutherland Sharks. So he's doubled his season tally with that strike this afternoon. And here he is on the ball again. Wanderers still remain the dominant team in possession here, and Cameron with the confidence flowing plays the early ball, and it's cleared away by Ben Berry. I think it's agony for St George City now. Is their team in its current formation set up only to hold on to the point, or can they find a way to surge again? We know that Wanderers, that they were in go-for-it mode, and it doesn't look like there's going to be any sort of change to that. A long throw. Franson the target. Tep rises to the ball. Hasarati, touchdown. Radovancevic. Cameron will get there before the line. He turns onto his right, whips the ball in. Good defensive header from Tep. And it finds Wabi. He can only clear so far, though. And the whistle's gone because, well, Tep-Tep's cramping inside the 6-yard box. St George City have already made 5 substitutions, though, so they'll be desperately hoping that Tep still has 7.5 minutes left in his legs. Out comes the trainer. And again, as they hold on to a crucial point here, St George City, we might see a bit more of this. Jack Kenny giving a pep talk to some of his teammates as we watch the treatment continue to be administered to Tep-Tep. We didn't have a second of stoppage time in the first half. This will guarantee we perhaps get 3, maybe 4 minutes. Factor in all the subs that have been made, 2 goals. Has been a brisk contest, though. We've had a bit of decision-based time wasting rather than anything forced by injuries or out of the ordinary delays. Well, he's desperately trying to run off the cramp here, the St George City defender Tep, because it's 11 versus 10, at least until he gets back around to the halfway line. So red alert here for the St George City defence. Wanderers have a man advantage. Tep has risen back up to a jog. He knows that he needs to get back out there to help out his team. Can Wanderers make the most of a man advantage? Tep has now been given the go-ahead to come back on, but a sweeping cross from Katrib. And Tep had not made his ground back into the penalty area. So Wanderers trying to make the most of 11 versus 10, but just couldn't execute it. Well, the temperature here at Wanderers Football Park's dropped a few degrees. It's a cooler end of the game. There's still barely a breath of wind. I can see a drone flying over the practice field, so lots of keen eyes on this game. Here's Katrib, fresh legs off the bench. He's rising to a sprint. Veers back inside. Morrison. Wanderers are playing with real belief here. Can they find a winner? Katrib. And a lunge from a long way away was enough to affect the cross from McAteer. However, he has put it behind for a corner kick, which Lachlan Satut will take. Satut, here's the corner, tumbling in at the near post and a comfortable half volley away for Clarkson. We can see McAteer's shirt being stretched. No whistle to his aid, but maybe St George City won't mind because Rossello is breaking through midfield. Block tackle comes in on Foti. Rossello. And out to the right, Wabi. And he's dispossessed by the backtracking Pavlovich. Ovens. Ratavancevic. Chop. Now Morrison. Satut dispossessed. Morrison, crossfield ball. Cameron nods it back. Hasarati is up. No power behind the header. And on the turn, Chulina is able to clear away. Franson, outside of the foot pass, diving into a header is Berry. Cameron. Franson with another aggressive diag, and Katrib's going to be second to the ball here as Jackson sees that over the line. Well, only one team looks like going for it and winning it at the moment. St George City, they've got a goal kick. Can they find a way to launch a successful attack? We yet to really see them get into the attacking penalty area ever since the double sub that took their goal scorer Pedersen off, and also Domoto with him. Franson with a header. Tepp is shaken off the cramp. Lunges down to win the ball. Rossello. Foti can't find a gap. Through comes Taleb, though. And now Wabi, from a standing start, sends across to the edge of the box. This might be the chance here. Jackson takes possession. Square ball to Clarkson. Now McAteer. Back to Cholina. The centre back just takes his time. Stepping through. Lifts it across. Franson heads it away. And now McAteer volleying it back, but Wanderers will have this one covered in Franson. St George City not able to consolidate possession, and it's a Wanderers throw. Jack Kenny came running out to the midfield third to shout at his teammates there, but he's got to retreat back into his penalty area now because Wanderers are on the move. Here's Cameron. Morrison. Satut blocked immediately. Cholina stepped up. Satut to shouts of his last name from teammates. Here's Chop. He's going to shoot and lift it over the bar. Good little avenue to move into there, but he let fly and it was always going high the moment he made contact. So we're into the last minute of the 90 with the scores level at 1-1. So a long clearance from Kenny. He's demanding his team press up and try to trap Wanderers in their defensive half, but no such luck. An exchange of back and forth clearances here. Satut, great first touch to bring the ball down. His pass blocked, but it fell kindly to Morrison. Now Katrib. He's been a live wire since coming on here. Emil Katrib taking on Hugo McAteer down to the corner, and he didn't have any support from a teammate, so a little cutback is immediately seized upon by Jackson. He guides it through a gap. Rossello able to draw a throw in, and that will move us into stoppage time. The 90 is up, and the fourth official shows 5 more minutes, so plenty of time. Hasarati chasing Kenny all the way. Ovens' header. Radovancevic round the corner. Satut tackled by Berry. And now Taleb protecting the ball. Ahmad Taleb from the right side of the penalty box now. He's going to let fly. Well, he's managed to find a shot on target, but it was on an acute angle, and Sinnott had those covered. Franson. Morrison. Katrib. Radovancevic. And Morrison in a one-on-one loses out, but possession immediately won back by the Wanderers. Pavlovic. Working with Katrib. Sweeping back to Franson. Low pass, touched 1-2, and now a shot from Morrison, but it was swiping across the ball there and always bending wide. Kenny, roundhouse kick, and no one chasing after that. Finds its way out for an immediate throw-in. We've had almost 2 minutes of the 5 additional here at Wanderers Football Park. Are we going to see a winning goal? Pavlovic with it all to do. Cholina. Radovancevic to Katrib. Tep with a slight challenge. Spilled the ball. Jesse Foti off and running. Now Taleb. It skips on here. McAteer. Is this the chance for St. George City? Hugo McAteer at the edge of the box. A stand-up tackle wins it away from him. Radovancevic just stood his ground and won the ball away. Radovancevic. Hasarati. And possession won back by St. George City. Rossello feeds it out to McAteer. He's got Taleb over on the right side of the penalty area. He's going to go in search of him now. Taleb chasing, and the cross just had too much on it. He's going to wheel back and consolidate with Wavi. Wavi in a little yard of space here, but he's going to work with Taleb. And then he concedes ground. Tep. Back to Chulina. And Chulina, St. George City working the ball around, but time is their enemy here. Now the cross comes, and it's another moon ball that's just going to be skied out for a goal kick, never bringing any of the attackers into play. So, last minute of the allocated 5. Wanderers in possession. Morrison. Satut. They can't be too patient here, Western Sydney. They've only got seconds left to use. Katrib. He's going to swing it across, and a good header away by Ben Berry. Franson, we've seen one long shot already. He resists the urge this time. And well played by Rossello. He draws a foul, and that might do it. There's only 20 seconds to go of the allocated 5 minutes. How urgent are St. George City to have one last attack of their own? They're going to leave it to the super boot of Jack Kenny. If anyone can get it launched, it is him, and he's waving his teammates up, Kenny. The goalkeeper wants them to go for it. So here's a long driving pass. It's going to go keeper to keeper, and it's met by the full-time whistle. So disappointment for St. George City, not able to hold on to a 1-0 lead. And the Wanderers, who created no shortage of chances, only found one, and that was the equaliser. Jon Pedersen scored his 3rd in 5 games, 4th of the season. And he did give St. George City a 1-0 lead midway through the second half. But Jesse Cameron popped up with his 2nd goal of the campaign for the equaliser with 10 minutes to go. A lively final 10 minutes, but neither team able to find a winner. And it leaves both sides in the mid-table mix, neither going up and neither, at least based on results elsewhere, going significantly down. But they will be keeping an eye on scores coming up later tonight to see exactly where they land, because neither has been able to land the match-winning blow here. Full-time at Wanderers Football Park. Western Sydney Wanderers 1, St. George City 1. On behalf of our broadcast partner, Sportscast Australia, my name's Teo Pellizzeri. Hope you enjoyed the game, and you can enjoy the rest of the weekend on the Football New South Wales YouTube channel, Real Football Homegrown.